Dia Gwed everyone, Gajima Tashiv, and welcome back to episode number 43 of the Inline G Flute podcast with me, your host, Inline G. We're back with another guest this week. I'm spoiling you lot rotten recently, and to be honest, I'm spoiling myself rotten. I'd have never found a pretext to go and find these incredible flute players and musicians without this podcast. So here, before we go anywhere, thank you, dear listener or dear watcher, for tuning in. And also thank you for following the social media and commenting and liking and just driving the engagement up. The more those numbers go up, the more my motivation goes up. And especially my motivation to go and find these incredible musicians. And speaking of finding people, this episode comes straight to you from the Emerald Isle herself. I was back home in Ireland recently for a wee holiday. And listen, I promised myself, I said, Gareth, you're not going to spend this week traipsing about after friggin' flute players. Instead, you're going to enjoy the company of your loved ones, God forbid. But here, I couldn't resist. Ireland is full to the brim of flute players. You can't move for flute players in Ireland. It's wall-to-wall flute players out there. And so, after a few Instagram messages, I was on the bus down to Dublin to get a chat with one of the finest of the bunch, Catriona Ryan. Catriona is principal flute of the National Symphony Orchestra of Ireland, so I got her fresh out of a rehearsal actually at the National Concert Hall down in Dublin to have a wee chat. She kindly found me a lovely wee corner. We set up and away we went. I also bumped into the principal conductor of the orchestra, Jaime Martin. Although I didn't get this in writing, he did promise he'd come on the podcast, so watch this space. Once upon a time was an incredible flute player. Probably is still an incredible flute player. Anyway, this was a delight of an episode. And particularly for me, because I got to chat with another Irish person and use my normal, beautiful Irish accent for once. Catriona was a delight herself. She's full of great anecdotes about the orchestral scene, her studies with Trevor Wye, classical music in Ireland. We even chatted about cats. So, that interview is coming up in 1 minute. You can skip ahead to it, but before then, the Inline G podcast is free and always will be free. That's a guarantee. However, if you want to donate to the podcast, you can now do so through the Patreon. On the screen now is the address. And for you audio listeners out there, it is patreon.com/the Inline G Flute Podcast. It costs €5 or dollars or pounds per month. And with that, you're keeping this podcast alive and kicking. You'll get 4 episodes a month. That's how many episodes I make every single month. And the donation is the price of a pint. So if you listen to 4 episodes a month and you think, God, I'd love to buy Gareth a pint. If I saw him in a pub, I'd buy him a pint. Now you can do it virtually. I do everything around here on my own, from marketing, graphic design, production, audio, video, you name it, I do it. And by becoming a patron, you help generate a regular income for this podcast, meaning I can turn down other work to focus more on it. And I also get to travel to meet the best flute players in the world. As a thank you, you'll get to put your questions to them a little bit earlier than everyone else, and you get access to episodes earlier than everyone else. So listen, if you can afford it, go sign up over there. It's £5 a month. You can unsubscribe at any time. No cost, no dramas. You jump in and out. If you can't afford it, it really helps a huge amount, and I'm genuinely touched at the amount of people that have signed up to it. I love yous. But here, if you can't afford it, it's grand. You can keep listening for free. So here is this week's Inline G Flute podcast with National Symphony Orchestra of Ireland principal flute, Catriona Ryan. Record.
Yeah. I'm all out of breath.
Do you want to get your breath back first? Yeah.
It's so fun. Yeah, it's okay. I'm a professional flute player. I've got good breathing control. It's all good.
What a good way to start. Yeah, I hate these low seats.
Yeah, me too. They're just not the most
there's
flattering.
There's nothing flattering in this, is there?
Can we put a disclaimer about the seats not being a flattering?
Yeah, that's an official disclaimer now, yeah. I have this problem. Also, do you know what's really nice about doing this episode is I can use my real accent.
Yeah.
Because generally when I speak on the podcast, my brother sent me a message a few weeks ago. He's like, why are you talking like that in the podcast? Because I say now. But if I say things like now, you're going to understand me, okay?
Yeah, totally.
Okay, grand. Yeah.
But I was like that when I went to college. I put on an English accent and I didn't notice it. And I'd come home and they were like, you big snob. What are you saying? Oh, God.
But like a northern English accent or a...
No.
Like a posh English one?
I would just have more, I would say my words properly and my T's were different.
You're a traitor?
I know.
This is when you were at the Royal Northern College?
Yeah.
Yeah. Who was your teacher at the Royal Northern?
Trevor.
Trevor Wye?
Yeah,
oh,
Trevor.
Cool.
And then he left and then I had Richard Davis.
Oh, yeah.
Actually ended up being a brilliant teacher for me.
Yeah?
Like, the first 6 months were hell. I think I probably talked about that with John Paul. Maybe I didn't. I'm probably too
I actually don't think so, no.
Yeah.
That's going to be a challenge in this podcast in general, is trying to not repeat what you did with John Paul, because those episodes, were so good.
Aww.
And he set the bar way too high for me as a podcaster.
No.
I hate the way John Paul does that. He's too good at it.
He's doing it so long, I suppose.
Yeah, well, 6 years at it as well. And to be fair, I heard a phrase recently: a rising tide carries all ships. So the more flute podcasts we have, the better it is for everybody.
Yeah.
Yeah. Anyway,
Exactly.
so you were telling me about Trevor Wye.
Yeah, so I studied with Trevor. Like, how lucky was that? You know, he had come over to Dublin to examine the scholarship exams in the Royal Irish Academy, where I studied.
Okay.
I studied there with Doris Keogh. And she was a very savvy lady.
Yeah.
So she knew I was at the point where I was going to be going away to study performance, and there were no performance courses here at the time.
That is wild to think about as well.
Though? I say that to people now, to students now, and they're like, "What?"
Like nowhere you can study performance in the whole of Ireland as well. That's including the north.
No, I think there was nothing.
Well,
It was
north
all
still has
academic.
nothing, so yeah, it's the same problem.
Yeah.
Uh,
So in fact, I went to Trinity College to study academic music initially.
okay.
Yeah.
You went there for a few months, didn't you? And then you moved over.
I was supposed to do a full year, but it's not that I couldn't ever. I loved it, but
no one's accusing you of that. Don't worry.
it was about the fee structures, and I'm sure it's the same now. If you're a European student, you are treated as a student of that country.
Yeah.
And I got the place with Trevor in the Royal Northern, and if I had completed a year here, I would have had to pay for my 4 years of tuition in the UK. So, and at the time there were no fees
in the UK.
None for students. Third level was free.
I think I was the last year before it went up, but I paid $3,500 a
I
year.
know. I saved my parents a fortune by going to the UK.
Those are the days when the UK was in the EU as well.
Yes, the good old days. Am I allowed to say that? Okay.
Yeah, exactly.
That's just my opinion.
We'll cut that out. Yeah. No, we won't. We'll keep it in. So anyway, Trevor Wye.
Trevor Wye.
Tangents. This is the problem with Irish people. We could talk all day.
I know. Trevor Wye. I mean, like
Trevor Wye.
Legend.
Is he as nice as I sort of assume he is?
I always got on great with him.
Yeah.
And I'm not just being diplomatic when I say that.
Yeah.
I thought he was hilarious. He was kind enough to me. I mean, he was a tough teacher. You saw him, and we had scale classes. I was talking to a friend of mine who was in my year in college the other day, and I'd forgotten about this, but you Thursday morning 7:30 a.m. scale classes every week, all the years, from first year to postgrads, everyone all together. And he would have he would
brutal.
Yeah, they were absolutely brutal. I mean,
7:30 a.m. for a skills class.
Yeah, and that was the idea, that you were exhausted. And
oh, lovely. Yeah.
No, I mean, as a professional now, I can appreciate that that's sometimes what the job is.
Yeah,
you're playing when you're not feeling fresh and you've travelled or whatever.
Yeah, but 7:30 a.m. is particularly.
But she was saying she got he'd say, okay, come on, stand up here and F sharp minor in thirds. Double tongued, whatever.
Like in front of everyone else?
In front of everyone else. And my friend was just reminding me that I won't name her, that she played a wrong note. And he said, get down, put your flute away, you're making the T's. So she had to make the T for the rest of the whole class. I mean, that's actually
honestly, I'd be delighted with that.
Yeah, pretty smart. So people started making mistakes on purpose now. Not really.
You get to go to make the tea.
But no, they were tough. And he was a hard taskmaster. But, he would listen to you play and say, okay, you need to fix this and you need to fix this and this is how you fix it. And I think he was kind of extraordinary in that.
I mean, it's Trevor Wye.
Yeah.
Had he written his books by this time?
Yeah. I still have the books from that era, and I would have been even younger as a teenager when I bought them. So I was teaching only yesterday, and I showed someone the picture on the back with the sideburns.
Oh yeah, of
they're
course.
Really old edition of the practice books and things. Yeah. So.
Did he teach from his own books then? Obviously he did.
Do you know what? I can't remember.
No.
I don't think he needed to. I don't think he necessarily. He probably did. I mean, I remember having lessons. The international. Summer school. What was it called? International Summer School. With their old masterclass. I was telling you earlier before we started. Emmanuel Pau was at them as a student.
That's wild.
Young teenager.
And how long is a teenager?
Yeah, we're so old. But
could you tell everybody with a picture, or do I have to cut this out? Because that was one of my favourite stories.
He won't see this, will he?
I really.
It doesn't really matter at this point, but. No, I was, maybe, I think I was 15.
Yeah.
And I'm not sure what age he is, but he was somewhere around that, maybe slightly older.
See, this is a problem with Emmanuel. He could be 25 now if you told me.
Yeah.
He looks great.
And I didn't even speak to him, but he was not famous at this point. He was just another student at the course. And I completely fell in love with him.
Well, you're only human.
Yeah, only human. And I found I was taking notes, as you do at masterclasses, and I had drawn a picture and Manuel written there. So.
I love that. I would have done that as well. I would have done that as well. Catriona and Emmanuel and a wee heart.
Exactly. C and E.
Oh, that's great.
Yeah. But what was I saying about the class? Oh yeah, I had lessons with Linda Verrier. I don't know if you've heard of Linda Verrier.
I know the name. Yeah, I think actually I know the name because of you talking about her before.
Married to Richard Davis.
Yes.
And I'd had lessons with her at that course in Ramsgate. It was in Ramsgate a long time ago. And she's an amazing player and an amazing teacher. And she was using Trevor's books. And I still to this day have her writing scrawled all over them, and Richard Davis. So we did use them in college. I found college challenging because everyone else in my year was continuing with the same teacher, and I was going back to basics. So Richard, and all these people you were having lessons with you were doing long notes.
Embouchure. So you mean like you would go back to just long notes for the lessons to sort of reinstall the technique?
Yeah. Starting right from scratch.
That is awful. I did the same thing with Robert, but like it obviously has a lot of benefits, but it is soul crushing at the start.
That's the point.
Because you feel like you're an artist already.
If there was one other student even who was doing the same thing, it wouldn't be so bad. But
you're the one that's going back to long notes.
Actually, there was. My friend was also, but she somehow didn't seem to suffer so badly as I did in terms of embouchure change. But she was doing the joint course with university. So
is that what it was? Like an embouchure change, and that was the purpose?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
And what was the problem with the embouchure before? Or problem, or what did he want to change?
Well, I think my embouchure, I played slightly to one side. I did play very much slightly to one side.
But a lot of players do that, don't they?
I know, and I still do sometimes. Yeah. And with the whole thing about the pandemic and recording video, you see your embouchure a lot more than you would have before.
You see a lot of things you don't want to see. Yeah.
And if you're in an orchestra or you're live streaming, you're looking back and you're going, oh, what am I doing? But it's very interesting for that. It's a really good tool to keep an eye on your playing.
During the pandemic as well? You saw
I think I just became more aware of it because I was looking at it and had to face what I was really doing.
Yeah. So then you switched your embouchure when you were.
So they were trying to very much centralise my embouchure.
Okay.
It was interesting. It was really interesting. Trevor, it's very extreme.
Yeah.
So he turned my head right out, and I had to blow from here down. And it did really open up my sound. It was a very different kind of sound.
Yeah.
And left to myself, I was reverting to very pretty, very small sound.
Yeah.
So I needed it,
Yeah, especially for playing orchestrally.
Exactly. I would never have gotten a job if I hadn't gone to study in Manchester.
It does work.
Yeah.
That thing about the embouchure being off as well, someone put this on Facebook recently of like, I think one of the method books has this, a picture of all the masters.
Oh, yes.
And they have it like that, but then someone also realised it was all fellas.
Yeah, I saw the female one. I did see that.
Which actually, was good to do. But a lot of people play with these not weird embouchures, but totally offset, because it is an asymmetrical instrument.
And even if you do play with a perfect embouchure, you don't always play with a perfect embouchure. It depends what register you're in, what you're doing, what dynamic it is.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
And when you're in the orchestra, you do what you have to do.
True.
It's all about the music is the most important thing.
Did you find your embouchure changed when you switched to Piccolo?
Well, I didn't really play. I thought I couldn't play the piccolo, and I think you probably heard me talk about that before. But so I didn't really study piccolo properly until I went to Manchester with Pat Morris. Again, landing on my feet like piccolo guru.
She wrote the Bible on piccolo playing as well.
So, and then the first job I got was a piccolo job.
And that was here, wasn't it? That was back in Ireland.
Piccolo, straight out of college. Yeah. Again, would never have got that job if I hadn't gone to Manchester because I could not play the piccolo before I went there.
Okay.
I could not. And that was me. I was like,
could not or would not.
And I think I almost have a passion project about it that I feel a lot of flute players think they can't play the piccolo.
Me.
Yeah, or they write themselves off.
And
I was that soldier.
Okay. And what's the solution to that then?
Well, my point is my solution was very simple. I was playing it the same way as I play the flute.
Ah, okay.
And wondering why it wouldn't work.
Yeah.
And you have to. Everything is miniaturized, so everything has to come up.
Yeah.
Come in. Everything is smaller.
See, I was not told. I think someone told me that because I have a really big bottom lip, that was one of the issues for me on piccolo, because I just felt like I couldn't blow any air into it.
On your lip.
And then it has to go on the lip, and it feels so weird.
I know, but it works.
I can't. Okay, I actually feel like I can play piccolo quite well. I just don't like playing it.
Yeah. Well, there is. It's tough. It's tough.
Incredibly stressful.
Yeah. It's very, very different.
Yeah.
It's great fun though.
Do you miss it?
Not anymore. I did a lot because I'd been doing it for 12 years or something, and I did. There was a point in time because there was obviously a trial period, and there was an initial year setting up when it wasn't necessarily going to be a job. But then there was a trial. It was about 2.5 years.
Okay.
Overall, and then I got the job after auditioning and grueling and all that, which is fine. To go through that, I think is important, but to earn it, I think it's important.
Yeah.
For you as well as everyone else.
Yeah.
In the orchestra, But there were times when I'd be sitting there thinking, I wish I were playing that part, or that's so much easier.
When you're playing piccolo, you mean you're thinking of that with the flute?
Yeah, I'm playing flute now.
Yeah.
Or in the initial years when I was playing the principal job, I was thinking, oh, why did I do this? This is so difficult. And but the reverse is true. We're doing Shostakovich 10 this week.
Yeah.
You know, that amazing piccolo duet at the end of the first movement. And I think, you know, it can be really helpful that you're sitting there. You have quite a few difficult exposed flute solos in Shostakovich 10. But by comparison, that's harder, I think. You know, that's more lonely.
Yeah, like I think that's the thing with piccolo solos is some of the quiet high ones that pop in a lot of Shostakovich, the anxiety you get, because also you don't play for half the piece.
You don't, and then he takes everything out. All the accompaniment just dwindles.
Yeah.
Right before your solo.
I remember my piccolo teacher in college was Eva Stewart, who played principal piccolo with the BBC Wales.
Oh, Eva, yeah.
And she was telling me so much about this, and when she got the job, she had to take like yoga lessons and stuff just to deal with the anxiety of like piccolo playing, because the solos would come up, and it's not that you're unprepared, but you sit so stationary for so long, and also it's such a small instrument. Yeah. You know, like if you've got the shakes or anything, all those things we get in the flute, it's way worse than the piccolo.
I don't know. I feel like there's more pressure in the embouchure, so that gives you an element of control that you don't have, for example, in the low flute solos in Shostakovich 10.
Yeah.
Like, you know, you're down there, da 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 da, and then you go right down to the low C's, and I think that's more, especially if you want to play with a certain colour. I think you're more likely to hear anxiety in that kind of register in the flute. I don't know. I quite
enjoy going down to the lower register in the flute. I feel like I can just get out of it a bit more. Yeah,
it's the best. It's just. We were just rehearsing Rococo variations. I was the cellist Pablo Ferrandez.
Yeah, the pronunciation is beautiful there as well. Yeah.
God, if you haven't heard him play, look him up. Stunning player. He plays like a singer. Like it sounds like a voice.
Well, it's not what people say as well. The cello was the closest to the human voice.
Yeah, in terms of I suppose they do, but he really does. And I know he turned around for the rehearsal so we could hear him. But
he turned around to face you guys.
Yeah.
Cool. Okay.
Sometimes they do that in the first rehearsal, which is nice. Why was I talking about what we were just talking about?
I have no idea. Where did we get to that? Oh, we were talking about rich solos at the bottom octave.
Oh yes, he was playing away and he was going down to the low notes. And I just had, envy. I had envy that I wish the flute could do that, because it makes a beautiful sound in the low register. I just wish it could be a bit more without us having an element of force about it. That's for me, that's the thing I'm always working on. Yeah. To try and get that sort of hollower sound, but with volume, or at least that it will carry without compromising.
It doesn't really come up in the flute rep either, does it? There's not many great flute solos that are down in that bottom octave.
Why?
Yeah.
Well, there's a surprising amount in the orchestra that really they need to carry, and you can't, even for a Pavane,
that's a good example.
Yeah, even if the hard thing for string players is to. A friend of mine is a violinist in the orchestra, and she said she never realised how quietly you have to play until she got a job. Okay. And you think piano is piano, but actually there are, 12 of you or 14 of you. You all have to play quadruple piano for it to be collective piano.
See, I find the opposite problem as a flute player. When the first time I played in a professional orchestra, I was shocked at how loud you have to be sometimes.
Well, on the flute, yes. Yeah. Yes. But for a Pavane, if they're not really super quiet.
12 of them, Yeah. And it is a great solo as well. Do you remember your first time sort of playing all the big solos in the orchestra? Like your first L'après-midi or your first Daphnis or all that kind of stuff?
Yeah, I do. I think the first time I had to play L'après-midi was a lunchtime concert, so it felt sometimes our lunchtime concerts they tend to be in the summer. Okay. And the audience is just more chilled out. Yeah. And they're having a nice day, and they might be a little bit older. There can be kids. Yeah. It's a bit more relaxed than a Friday night season. It's quite a short concert as well, isn't it? It's only an hour. Yeah. It's still terrifying.
Oh yeah, of course, yeah.
So I mean, the context of playing L'après-midi, it's good that it's on auditions, because that's how it feels in reality.
Does it really? Okay.
It really is terrifying. Yeah. It's always first, and you're on a C sharp. I mean, there's nowhere to hide. Do
you have any preparation for it, or any rituals you go through before you play those kind of things?
I mean, I am a big fan of the breathe in for 3, hold for 3, breathe out for 3 thing. And I'm only relatively recent years started doing that, and it really does work.
Huge difference, yeah.
But you have to do it for the whole day beforehand. Yeah. The last time we played Daphnis, my lovely colleague beside me said, "My God, you were so cool! Like you didn't seem to be nervous at all." And I said, "I was even in the bars rests beforehand. It might be 3 bars." I was like,
That's the most important bit, I find. Because I remember doing it once and bringing it to my teacher in Paris, and I was asking her, do you have any tips just before I go to play this? And she said, yeah, the bars beforehand, that's the bit where you just have to breathe out, get it all chilled out. Don't worry about counting and all that, get right down, and then you're away.
And you were talking about Piccolo earlier. Pat Morris had a great tip for, and it was the kind of thing that made the difference for me between being able to play the Piccolo well and not being able to play it at all, was to breathe in early. And allow that pressure to build up, because the Piccolo needs that pressure. So if you have the luxury of the time, if you have bars rest or before you start a solo, for example, Shostakovich, you know, you're breathing, you know, a healthy bar and a half, 2 bars depending on the tempo.
Just
early,
all... breathe
in, hold, and then the note just comes out.
Oh, so you mean like hold it and then get ready for the...
Yeah, that you would never do on the flute. Yes. Yeah.
So almost in like apnea, like you're holding it in?
Not here, but but that the air itself is coming out under more pressure. You know?
See, that would make me nervous as well, because I think when you're holding your breath in, your heart rate would go up, wouldn't it?
Yeah, but it's there anyway, to be honest.
Yeah, okay, well,
it's only those kind of solos, it's the kind of solo that your heart rate would be fast anyway.
Yeah, true.
Yeah.
So your first in the Premier League, do you remember who was conducting?
It was a young still young English conductor called Duncan Ward.
Not familiar.
Yeah, he's still around. He's working for a bit in the UK. I don't know exactly what he's doing, but and
did he let you just play it free? Or
I've been really lucky. I think I've maybe played it about 5 times.
Wow, okay.
And I've been really lucky. Nobody has ever conducted it for me.
That's great. Okay, yeah. Because I have heard the odd conductor.
Oh, the worst. I won't mention his name.
No, don't.
But he was our principal conductor, and I adore him. And he was our principal conductor at the time. It's some years back.
Yeah.
And it was first in the programme, as is traditional.
Always is, yeah.
And at that point, we used to rehearse in the mornings for 3 hours, be off for the afternoon, and come back in, only allowed to go on stage just as the concert's starting. Now we can warm up on stage. It's terrific.
Yeah, because most radio
makes a huge difference for that radio, actually. And but then we're normally broadcast live on the radio.
Yeah.
And the guy comes out on stage and speaks. So you're waiting, you know, while you've allowed yourself, you're psychologically prepared. There's going to be this time. He's going to be talking. I'm in the zone. Yeah. And then he left the stage, and it all quietens down. You get ready, and then our conductor went. And I counted back on the broadcast, and between that and the time he went like this was 15 seconds.
No way.
Which doesn't seem like a lot, but
no, 15 seconds.
It was enough for me to feel my heart rate go up.
Did you know he was going to give you that, or
I had no idea he was going to do that. I don't know if he realised he was doing it. I don't know if he realised the impact it would have on a flute player. He probably didn't. But that was a steep learning curve.
Because I think if I was in that situation, you'd be thinking, does he want me to play now then?
No. I knew him well enough to know
he was going to bring you in. Okay.
Yeah.
Oh, that makes my skin crawl, the thought
of it. I know. As
15 seconds is a lifetime.
I know. It's just the pressure of that piece, because it's so beautiful.
Are you more nervous for that one or Daphnis?
That one.
Yeah.
That's my killer. Because
I always feel like Daphnis, it is a hard solo, of course, but it's so emotional and it's so heavy, and you can really get stuck into it.
Yeah, and you're warmed up.
Yeah.
It's
and you can kind of get carried away with it.
Yes, you really can. The last time I did it was with Jaime conducting, and I thought in advance it was going to be awful, because he's a flute player and he knows everything.
Yeah.
But it
Not
was
just
actually
a flute player,
fabulous.
The flute player.
It was the most free I've ever felt doing it, because he didn't get in my way at all. He just let me do it.
Wow.
Which was kind.
That is very nice of him, yeah.
Yeah. It was kind. He could have.
So for anyone listening, this is obviously Jaime Martin, who's now the principal conductor. I need to make more of an effort with that. He's now the principal conductor here. Has been for quite a while now, hasn't he?
Chief, several years, Oh,
chief conductor, sorry. Is there a difference between a chief conductor and a principal conductor?
No, he was our first chief. I don't know why they changed it. Maybe he liked that term, but...
kind of like that as well. Yeah, so obviously he was a very well-known flute player as well before, and then...
Yes.
Yeah,
and he was... No pressure.
Yeah. We just met him as well downstairs.
Yeah, we just bumped into him.
He played a Vivaldi flute concerto last week with the LA Chamber Orchestra, and he was just like that.
Having not played the flute for like
several
years.
And he just picked it up and played a concerto.
2 years or something.
Like, that's annoying, man.
If
I take a weekend off, I couldn't do that.
I know.
He can disappear for 10 years and comes back.
But sometimes you find that, if you take time off, I'm not one of these people who can take time off and feel comfortable. No, I'm not. I would not be like Jaime. But sometimes when you take time off, like we get time off in the summer, and I take it because you need it physically. And you need to get your instrument serviced and all that stuff. So,
of course, yeah.
And sometimes when I come back, I'm amazed at how easily everything's working, and I'm really happy with how I sound. But then a week later,
it starts to go back down again?
Not so much.
Really?
Yeah, not so much.
Do you ever have days when you're playing in the orchestra and you think, I'm just having one of those tone days, but I'm doing a gig?
Yeah.
And what do? You just rock with it then?
You just have to go with what you've got that day.
Yeah.
Yeah, and it's never as bad as you think.
Really, I was thinking that. Yeah.
I have the good fortune to usually be able to listen back.
Yeah, because everything's recorded here, isn't it?
Yeah, and we're not live streaming as much. It's all still being recorded.
Yeah.
Visually, and it's broadcast live on the radio.
Yeah.
So you can listen back, but you can watch back occasionally.
Okay.
And you can ask for a copy of something if you want to watch it back.
Do you listen back to everything?
No, not always.
Okay.
And it can vary depending on who the sound engineers are, so that can be a bit frustrating.
Okay.
Because the balance can be quite different and the microphones can compress.
Yeah.
You start the flutes and the piccolos going, it suddenly gets quiet.
Yeah.
So it can be a little frustrating to listen back in terms of balance.
See, I hate listening to myself back anywhere, any gigs, even my podcast. I can't listen to my own voice; it turns me, which is terrible.
I don't sound like me when I listen to this.
Oh no, we can digitally edit this. Don't worry.
Make me sound better.
Oh yeah, we can make you sound like Tom Jones here. It'd be great.
I always say that to sound engineers. Make me sound like Jimmy. Is that the Jimmy mic? I'll take that one.
Have you ever met Jimmy?
Loads of times. He's always so kind to me. Yeah.
He plays here quite a lot. Was he artist laureate here as well? I know he
was
with the Ulster
I
Orchestra.
think it's Ulster. Yeah. No, we've worked with him a lot, and he recorded Bill Whelan's concerto.
That wasn't that long ago either.
No, it wasn't.
What's the concerto called? Linen and something or
Linen and Lace.
Yeah. But that was only a couple of years ago, wasn't it? Like 6, 7 years ago.
It was before COVID, though, I think.
Just before, yeah.
Yeah.
Has he been back since COVID?
No, he doesn't seem to be travelling as much since COVID.
No.
He's getting out a bit more again now, I think. The summer school is.
The summer school's back up. Yeah, I saw that.
Just
I would love to go to that. The only problem is I was in Switzerland recently, actually, just to visit a friend, and the prices.
Oh, really?
Oh man, like even going for a pint, it was like €11, and the Irish bar broke my heart. I would love to go for it as well. And to be fair, he's like the number one guest I want to get in this podcast is Jimmy.
Do you think he will?
A lot of people have said he would.
I think he would too.
Yeah, I've got a contact working on him. I've got a friend of a friend who knows him, and they're sort of liaising for me.
You heard it here.
I can't say anything else about that. See with Emmanuel Bayou, I know that I can get him on eventually because I've been building up to him, and I have enough people now that have said, oh yeah, he'd definitely do it. But I've got episode 50 coming up. Sorry, we'll digitally remove it. Episode 50 is coming up soon, so I need someone really special for that. So I think Emmanuel Bayou or Jimmy Galway, or both of them. Yeah, imagine that.
Woo-hoo.
Oh, if I got them one, I just sit down. It's right. That's the way you go.
Retire.
Get a pint. What were we saying there before I got on to that? There was something I wanted to ask you and I had stuck in my head that I was like, oh yeah, sorry.
Okay.
You did a concerto. Well, not a concerto. We did the 4A Fantasy with Orchestra.
Yes.
How did that go?
We recorded it actually for Naxos. It's coming out in, I think, October, November. We did an entire it's a double CD of 4A works, and some of them are a bit more obscure.
Okay.
And 4A Fantasy, we'd actually recorded it last July.
Okay.
And I performed it in January. It was great. It was really great. I felt a bit strange because that was the only piece I was playing as a soloist.
Yeah,
in the program,
it's like
so
8
short.
minutes or something. Yeah.
It's like six and a half. It's short. So.
Had you ever played with orchestra before?
Yeah, I had. Along with Saint-Saëns, Odelette, and Chaminade in the same concert.
You played Chaminade.
It was a lunchtime. Yeah, it was great.
Okay. Oh, that's a great concert for a flute player, isn't it?
Yeah, it was the orchestra concert.
Yeah.
So I went in and out.
Oh, so you were playing in the orchestra as well?
No, I wasn't. But I had 3 solo pieces, but it was nice.
What's it like playing a concerto with your own orchestra?
It's lovely.
Yeah,
it's lovely.
I'm always too, no?
Of course. But to be honest, playing solos in the orchestra, you feel a responsibility to play well for your colleagues as well.
Take one for the team.
Never mind that you're being judged.
Yeah.
And there's it's a lot of responsibility comes with being a principal flute.
Yeah.
It's
But do you have to adapt your style of playing when you're doing a concerto as opposed to being a principal flute? Do you find?
Say that once more.
Do you have to adapt your style in a concerto?
Yes, depending on what you're playing. Yeah, there's so much more freedom when you're standing at the front of the orchestra.
Because I heard you talk about this again with John Paul, and you were saying sort of like this issue of blending and the importance of blending, and like what is your role as a principal flute? Are you meant to stand out? Are you meant to blend?
You see, that's where I know I said it to Jean Paul, and I said it to you briefly, but I feel like I'm not your regular flute player because I just feel like I'm an orchestral flute player. Yeah. To my bones,
Yeah.
That is what gets me going.
Really? Okay.
Even trying to play rococo, trying to get the same attack as the cello. Just love that.
Yeah.
Love that. And And you can never do it enough, you know, so it keeps you really interested in what you're doing.
Yeah, and there is that feeling as well with this orchestra. I think with most orchestras that is the goal, but the feeling of an overall chamber group. It's essentially just a chamber group with a conductor.
That's what an orchestra should be.
It should be.
Yeah. It's difficult with a big symphony orchestra to achieve that, but
this orchestra feels like it.
Yeah.
I think this orchestra sounds like that.
Yeah, I hope so.
It is an excellent orchestra. It's an orchestra I've enjoyed. Yeah, I've listened to them for many years, obviously. Being Irish, I think you have to. Because we only have, 3 professional orchestras on the island, or full-time professional. There is Ulster Orchestra, Concert.
Full-time, and then the Irish Chamber Orchestra are part-time.
Yeah. But they've always
Very
been doing
few.
so well. It's great to watch. And a full Irish flute section we were saying as well.
I know.
That is so cool.
That is pretty cool, right?
Yeah.
I know, it's testament to the teachers here as well, you know, for decades, because my teacher here was extraordinary, Doris Keogh, and she produced so many amazing flute players, and Emer McDonough.
Yeah. She's over in, is she RPO?
She's principal in RPO,
Yeah.
And so many more, there, of course, and in fact, in all of my, Rihanna O'Donnell is our second flute player, studied with Doris, as did Sinead Farrell, who's our Piccolo player, had studied with Doris before they studied with Bill Dowdall. Yeah. So, and we all play Brannens. Brannon, if you're listening.
About that. Yeah. Okay, so tell me about your flute, actually. So you play Brannon.
I have a slightly strange flute.
I want to talk about this because this is strange, to be fair.
Yeah, okay. So I play a platinum head on a silver flute.
Yeah, which feels like putting the hat on a hat.
Silver riser, 9-carat lip.
And what's the reason for that?
I just couldn't afford a whole platinum flute.
Thank you for your honesty.
I couldn't afford it, and it was too heavy.
They are heavy platinum flutes. Yeah, I picked them up
for the
sometimes.
orchestra. I think it's too many hours to be sitting, especially like whatever about playing it. If you're standing, it's not too bad, but if you're sitting, it's not great for your body. We weren't designed for that. So,
so you put a platinum head on a silver flute.
Yeah.
Why not a gold flute? Again, just because it cost too much money, or?
I don't think it's that it cost too much money. It was just I preferred the feel and the sound of platinum.
Okay.
Yeah.
Have you ever played on gold?
Yeah.
Okay.
I did have a Nagahara out on trial for a while.
Oh, they're beautiful, to be fair.
But it was I think before I bought this Brannon.
Yeah.
And it didn't have a C-sharp trill, which unfortunately once you've had a C-sharp trill, I know it can be a bit divisive, but but once you've had one in the orchestra, you can't go back.
Okay, then I want to ask you about that, and also, do you play inline G or offset G?
I play inline, and I wish I played offset.
What?
Sorry.
No.
You have to change your name.
I know. Why?
Well, just for comfort, when you've been playing for a long time, I can understand the logic of an offset G.
Okay.
Yeah.
But inline's quite rare here. I thought most Irish players played on offset these days.
I must check, actually, with the girls. I'm not really sure. I think
British players all play offset.
Yeah, it's become much more common, hasn't it? Certainly
you
at the
always
time.
played on inline then?
Yeah, I have.
Okay.
I think my first flute was an Emerson.
Oh yeah, one of them as well.
No, it was a Gemeinhardt, and then I had an Emerson, and then I had a Muramatsu.
Okay.
And Muramatsu was my first inline. I think.
Okay.
Again, when you're a student and you're sort of told, this is what you're supposed to play, and
see, I always played offset my entire life, and I only switched to inline because in France they all play inline, and then this flute came up in the market, and also it's the aesthetic of it. It
does
looks
look beautiful.
lovely.
It does.
And it's the same reason why I play a gold flute, is because that's only 5-carat, so it wasn't super expensive, but when I found out I could afford a gold flute, I didn't even care.
I do love the look of a gold flute.
I was just sold on it.
I do.
And I think the placebo effect of having the flute that you love looking at is powerful.
Well, they're just beautiful anyway, aren't they?
They're fucking gorgeous,
I know. How lucky are we?
And so your entire section plays on Brannens then?
Yeah.
Do you think that helps? There is orchestras that I wouldn't say insist on that, but isn't there certain ones where it's kind of
well, we have to provide our own instruments at our orchestra, so they can't insist on anything. But yeah, no, I'm sure it does help. It does help. The mechanisms on the Brannens are fabulous for the orchestra. I mean,
do you have the orchestral model?
I have the Brugger acoustic.
Yeah, because the orchestral model is one of the keys has like a half cover.
Oh no, I don't have that.
Yeah.
I
can't remember which one that is, but I think it's like maybe the F key or the E key has like a very gentle half cover on the whole. I'm not entirely sure what it's for.
Now I want that. Okay.
I probably should know what that's for, but I don't know what it's for yet. Do you have a B foot joint as well?
I do. I have a convertible BC foot.
What's a convertible?
So it can be a C foot or it can be a B foot. Brannon
you mean
do
like
that.
Just take it off and put it on, or there's like a
there's like little. If I had my flute with me, I'd show you my case, which I get very excited about because I got one of the new Brannon cases. My old one died, and you tell them the model of your flute, and they send you the case for your exact flute. So it has a little circular bit, and I put my little tiny bit of C. So if I'll just pick your flute up for a second. There's an extra section about this long that comes off.
I've never seen that.
Yeah, it's great.
Do you
it's
always
handy.
play with the B then, unless?
Usually, but actually sometimes I'll take, if I have to go right down to a D, for example, in an exposed solo, and I want to get a certain sound, I'll actually take the convertible part off.
Yeah, okay.
And it will still work.
Do you find a difference with being C foot joint? I always find C foot joint just
I don't find
a little bit more for me.
Yeah, I don't find that much difference. Sometimes the very top notes, maybe.
Yeah.
There can be a slight change in.
Okay. And I wanted to ask about the demographic of audiences in Ireland, because I'm always curious about this. I don't get to go to classical symphonies as much in Ireland as I would like to. It's been 10 years since I've been in here as well. But do you see the audience changing post-pandemic? A lot of orchestras are talking about this.
I've definitely seen it change recently, like in the last 6 months.
Okay.
Yeah. So even before Christmas, our audiences were very variable.
Yeah.
And since Christmas, nearly always sold out.
Okay.
And I'm not sure if that's a marketing push from
the
National Concert Hall here or just coincidence. But what you do see is younger people in the audience, which I love. I love seeing kids at a concert, and I love their parents for bringing them.
Yeah.
Because they're creating a lifetime
and you
habit
get those memories.
for them.
I think that most of us as musicians, we all remember the first time we went to see an orchestra in person.
Yeah.
Like, it is incredible. That's a memory that will always stick with me.
Yeah.
And also, like, there is a big argument about bringing kids to the symphony because, they might talk during it and do things during it. I genuinely have never had an issue with someone talking when I've played. Never.
Me neither.
If a kid shouts something out, I've never been bothered by it.
No, me neither.
Or they've clapped in the middle of a movement, or they've cried, or whatever. I don't care.
It actually hardly ever happens.
No? They all...
I mean, sometimes the adults make more noise.
Yeah.
Coughing and
You don't let them bring drinks in here, do you?
No, they're not allowed to. But
Yeah,
I wouldn't mind
wise.
if they were, but it's not the policy here.
See, there was a time when I was going to concerts in France, I can't remember which one, but one of the concert halls let you bring drinks in. It was great.
I think the Helix,
brilliant.
there's another concert hall called the Helix in Dublin, which is a lovely acoustic hall.
I don't know it.
It's on the north side, so the side of the city it's on doesn't suit a lot of the people who would come to our concerts, for example. So they might live on the south side of the city.
Yeah.
So it's a long way away, but they let you bring drinks in.
And do they have classical concerts?
Not so often, but
they've done one or two.
That's a good point. I don't know. We wouldn't do many concerts there because we're based here.
Yeah.
But that's a good point. I wonder would they let you bring into a symphony concert?
Have you ever done any chamber music or anything over there, or
in the Helix? No, it's a big stage.
Okay.
Yeah, it's lovely.
Yeah.
It's all wood. Very
do you
nice.
do chamber music now still? Do you still?
Yeah, I love chamber music.
Yeah,
I do as much as I can. I play in a wind quintet, which I know
yeah,
some people don't think of that when they hear chamber music, but I mean it's almost.
There's beautiful rep for wind quintets
There
as well.
is, but it's also like all those sounds. Again, it's my thing.
Yeah, the blending.
Like trying to combine 5 such different instruments and even attack together, like begin together is. I love it.
I really get off on that. I remember in college when we had wind quintets, and one of the exercises one of the head of winds got us to do was we went to a big room and we all went into the corners and faced away from each other, and they were like, right, start the piece, and you had to do it without counting, without anything. You just had a few bashes at it. So much fun.
Yeah, because you
just feel the energy.
I know from my colleague in the orchestra, like how he inhales. I know when his sound is going to start.
You know exactly when it's going to start. Yeah, because also you've got things like the oboe starting where they're going to have that little moment where the reed's sort of warming up a little bit, and you have to get used to that, because flute players, we just go bang, we're in. And clarinets as well, they take a wee second usually just before there's like a little softness in their sound to find that takes one. Bassoons are wild to play with. I always find like whenever you think a bassoon is going to start, about 20 minutes later they've actually not 20 minutes, but you know what I mean. But I love that kind of stuff. Me too.
I
think wind quintets are so much fun for that.
They can be great fun, but the sound world is gorgeous when you're. Some of the repertoire is just beautiful, and so I really love that, and we've been together, a long time.
What kind of concerts do you do then?
Well, we tend to do tours around Ireland.
Okay.
Maybe every 2 years or so, if we're lucky enough to get funding, which we have been from the Arts Council of Ireland. Thank you very much. Shout out.
Yeah.
And
they want to sponsor a podcast, I'm here as well.
What's good about that is you get to go all around the country. It's not just the capital cities.
Oh, really?
So
okay.
the art centres they link up with would be in villages and towns,
and like rural Ireland then?
Well, maybe not too far. It depends on the tour. And during COVID, we got tour funding during COVID, and we were limited to 50 kilometres or something outside Dublin. But so that made it difficult.
50 kilometres outside Dublin is still quite a bit, isn't it?
Yeah, it's still quite a bit. But
you get as far as Galway with 50 kilometres outside?
Not with the quintet yet. Okay. No. But I would like to.
Yeah. Oh, that's really interesting.
Yeah.
It's small. So you like leisure centres or art centres or things
There are
like that?
specific art centres, which can be challenging. Some of them are based in older buildings, so they haven't a sort of a preformed acoustic, but most of them are black box, designed for amplified shows. They're multi-purpose.
That's fun though.
So yeah, it's fun, but it's
what
hard
kind of
work.
audience do you get there?
Really variable. There's a great tradition of string quartet, chamber music going around the country here. There's a National String Quartet Foundation in Ireland, and they sponsor recitals. So that's I think a string quintet might be a bit more accessible for an audience, I suppose, to listen
music,
to.
yeah, it's what you think of straight away, isn't it?
I know, but I think they're missing out, don't you?
I entirely do, yeah.
Yeah.
Although, that's one of the things I'm always fascinated about classical music in Ireland is, Ireland is a small place, and I think it's the same thing with sport. You are not competing, but you've got such a big trad music scene here and a rock music scene, and with such a small community, you think, how do we get people to the audiences?
Yeah, and for funding too.
Yeah, exactly.
Traditional music, especially if you're going abroad, traditional music gets funding much quicker because it's seen as an Irish product.
Well, when you think of music in Ireland, you instantly go to trad music. I think everyone outside of Ireland would think that.
And why not? It's great.
Yeah.
It's great. But
and, it's the same problem in sport as well, because we have football, we have GAA, we have rugby, and to try and get all those things with a small audience, because there's only 6 million people in Ireland.
Yeah,
if even.
Yeah, not even.
Yeah. So I always think it must be difficult trying to get your concerts to sell out in a country where you're competing against so many other types of music with a small audience.
Yeah, certainly for chamber music, and even for a symphony orchestra sometimes. I think people now tend to pick something they want to go to as a sort of a project. It's like an event. They're event based. They don't go every week to something like
it's a
people
night out
would
for them
have.
Then, and it's
and they'll go when it suits them.
Okay.
Which is what I would do if I were a punter. So it can be a challenge to get a consistent audience.
Do you feel like you're competing with trad music?
Not at all.
Maybe not the right word, but you know what I mean.
No, not at all. I don't think so. I think they tend to play in smaller venues, so we don't really compete. Although this hall is great for featuring traditional music, and we quite often have traditional instruments as soloists with us. That is the beauty of being an Irish orchestra.
That is true,
you have Riverdance, you have Sean Davey. It was even before that with the Brendan Voyage. If people don't know it, we have Irish pipes called the Uilleann pipes.
I love the Uilleann pipes.
Uilleann is Irish for elbow, and they work with a pump from the elbow.
They're gorgeous.
I know. If you're Irish, they just get right into your soul.
Yeah, when we run the Irish music session, someone rocked up with the Uilleann pipes the other week, and I was like, mate, it's your concert away.
I know.
So have you done like an Uilleann pipe concerto, or?
Well, Brendan Voyage is effectively that.
Yeah.
It is.
And the Bill Whelan Flute Concerto as well, obviously. That's very heavily inspired from Irish music as well.
It is, very much so. But still played on a modern flute. Mick McGoldrick played with us recently.
Oh, really? Wow.
He's fabulous, isn't he?
Unbelievable. Like, honestly, some of the trad players I look at and think, as classical players, we can only dream of being that level.
I know.
They're
and they go, and they just played for hours. And then they go,
isn't it wild?
It is wild. Yeah. I wish I didn't. And it's not that it's unusual, but as an Irish flute player, I wish I had grown up playing traditional as well.
You didn't at all then?
I didn't.
No.
And I really wish I had.
Have you played one now? Have you got an Irish flute in the house?
No.
Really?
Yeah.
Even curiosity when...
Yeah, I'm the same. Like, somebody asked me to dep for Miss Saigon when it was in Dublin.
Yeah.
And they said, there were like 6 ethnic flutes or whatever it is on the part. And I was like, no, I'm not doing it. Because I'm just really fussy about the sound I make. And I didn't want to be fluffing the,
Yeah. And I also feel like there's a little bit of pressure when you're a flute player and you're Irish, and people assume then you're going to be playing the Irish flute as well. They're like, oh yeah, that's what you can do. It's like, I've never played one. I've only played classical flute my entire life.
No, I've never even tried. It's not... I
never
can't believe I've never tried. No, I've never picked one up.
Oh, come on.
I literally have never been in the room with an Irish flute that I would have had.
That's a disgrace, Catriona. Come on.
I know, I'm sorry.
Come on.
I'm ashamed to call myself
I actually
Irish.
have one in the house. Someone gave me one a few years ago, and I couldn't get a note out of it.
Well, next time you come to Dublin, bring it with you and I'll give it a go.
But you can buy them. There's a great plastic one you can buy. And they're very easy. Tony Dixon do like a plastic PVC one.
Okay.
It literally looks like a drain pipe, but it's about 50 quid. And I can play that one. I'm very good at that. But the real proper wooden ones are almost like a baroque flute. The embouchure hole is
I did baroque flute in college. I mean, I loved that.
Okay.
I had to give it up because I was getting tendinitis because no keys.
Yeah.
But I actually would have loved to do that as a career.
Baroque flute?
Yeah. I had Rachel Brown. I was very lucky. She was amazing.
I talked about her so much on this podcast.
She gave me one of her flutes for the whole time I was in college to play. Yeah.
Yeah, because she has like 300 of them as well, to be fair.
I know, but I had to give it back. It was... Yeah, that broke my heart. I really did love that.
Yeah?
Yeah.
And you don't play...
You see, reverting back to my teenage, playing small sound self.
It suits very well then, doesn't it? Yeah.
Yeah, it was like, it could be my alter ego.
And you've never played Baroque music here?
Not on the Baroque flute, no. I have a wooden Yamaha.
Okay.
And I play that if we're playing Bach.
And you're not tempted to go back to a Baroque flute for a concert, no?
Well, not if it doesn't work for my hands.
Oh, okay, fair enough, yeah.
Yeah, which is a shame.
Oh, yeah, because there is a lot of Baroque music in Ireland at the minute, isn't there?
Yeah, there's an Irish Baroque orchestra.
Yeah, they're doing great,
They're actually based in the NCH as well. Yeah.
Okay, let me get on these quick questions because we do talk a lot. Okay, I sent these in advance, okay, so you don't get them. Okay. Yeah, because people get very stressed out about these, and they really shouldn't. And it doesn't have to be super quick fire, okay?
Okay.
But
let's go.
Do you have a favourite flute concerto?
Whichever one I'm doing at the time.
Oh, that's proper politician.
Like I said before, I'm not like your average Nielsen Ebert answer. Probably Mozart. I mean, I do. D. I like the Mozart D. I do. I prefer the Mozart D.
It's not really flute concerto, it's an oboe concerto.
I know.
It's stolen. Have you ever played it with orchestra?
I have with this orchestra, twice. Yeah.
Okay, and you played the G major one as well?
I haven't played the G major, probably because it's not my favourite. But yeah, I do equally love it. But the D, for some reason, I don't know why.
You're the first person to say Mozart D major.
There you go.
There you are. That's a great one.
There you go.
Do you remember the first flute album you bought?
I remember. I don't think it was an album. I remember buying Jimmy, James Galway, Any Song.
Oh, there you are.
Single, but I preferred the B side, which was Drigo Serenade. Yeah.
Oh, that's right.
Yeah, gorgeous.
Yeah, I could have put money on it that you were going to say Jimmy, because I think everyone in Ireland, their first flute.
But I think that was the first record I bought ever.
Oh, really? Oh, wow.
Along around the same time, I think. What was it? Something about tigers or lions. I can't remember. The Lion Sleeps Tonight or something like that. Something awful. That was the next thing I bought. So it was very eclectic upbringing.
Yeah, because to be fair, that did cross over Annie's song. Because I remember doing this in the podcast and finding out that year, because Jimmy got to number 3 in the charts in the UK.
Something crazy.
Played on Top of the Pops.
Yeah.
And I think number 1 that year, or that week, was Grease. It was one of the songs from Grease. But the Rolling Stones were 4th.
Yeah.
It was like wow. It was really, really good. He went on Top of the Pops. How cool is that?
Yeah. Well, I grew up I have an older brother and sister, so they got more pocket money than I did. So their albums were sitting there. So there was a healthy mix of, my brother liked, Kate Bush and
good music, yeah.
Simon and Garfunkel for my sister or something. She'll kill me for saying that, but yeah.
And what kind of stuff were you listening to then?
Their albums.
Okay, you just take them everyone's going then.
Yeah,
because my next question was going to be, do you remember the first album in general you bought? But then if that's Jimmy as well,
I think it probably was.
Okay,
yeah.
Okay, that's a good answer as well. You're the first person to actually give me an answer where their first album in general was a flute album.
Yeah, sorry.
That, yeah.
What a geek.
Alexei Kosenko said his first album was a madrigal. A CD of madrigals when he was 8 years old. Wow.
How lovely. I had a tape. I'm really old. I had a tape of madrigals that I used to play when I was writing essays for college.
Oh, really? Yeah.
Just because my teacher here, Doris Kerr, my flute teacher, had us all be in an Italian music consort.
Yeah,
so we used to sing madrigals, play recorders. I played bass recorder. Yeah.
There was a
and sing and dance. Yes.
What?
We went to Italy. We toured Italy.
You sang and danced, you said?
Yes. She made us do everything.
Wow.
Somehow playing the...
Renaissance dance?
I played the Gems horn.
You talked about this in the podcast and I googled it and I'm still not entirely sure
She's incredible, and she had a whole set of Renaissance flutes, which is basically, it's just,
It's just a tube, isn't it?
Tubes.
Yeah.
And I think that's where my fear of playing ethnic flutes came from, because it's so unforgiving. If you start to play and you're in the wrong place, it's done. Yeah, it's gone. It's done. Having said that, as a professional, I get used to just doing that. You start playing, and instead of going, oh no, it's not my, you just
go for it and go right, here we are.
Yeah, it's still good.
That is a good habit to get into in general. I find that a lot with teaching as well. A lot of students will spend too much time getting set up and panicking. Just go for it.
You can overanalyze. You can overanalyze. As long as you're practicing and always aiming in your practice.
It'll get there eventually. It'll go through. It'll go through osmosis. Okay, if you could switch instruments but still be as good as you are, all the flute.
Cello.
There we are. Yeah.
Cello.
Is that because of Mr. Fernandez?
No, but he did reignite my passion for it today. I'd love to play cello.
Would you really? Yeah.
Yeah. I think I would have. I don't know how I ended up playing flute.
Well, you're Irish. I suppose that's kind of the problem.
Well, I do know how I ended up playing flute, but I mean, I love playing the flute. But if I were not playing a wind instrument, it would definitely be cello. Yeah.
Oh, but would you rather play like the clarinet or the oboe? No. Okay.
No.
Only flute. Says that.
Yeah, bassoon is cool.
Bassoon gets a lot of hate. Bassoon gets a rough ride, but I love the bassoon. The oboe is just incredibly difficult. It is awful to play.
And the clarinet, because it's behind me all the time, the intonation is so different. I think I'm just mildly allergic.
I actually love the clarinet. I always
love
say the
the
clarinet
sound
is
of
my
it,
answer.
but it's...
Because I love all those
yeah.
little, like those Alberti things you get in a lot of Mozart and the clarinet. It's always so fun.
It's true.
Like, look, you guys look like you're having a blast.
It's true. It
And
is a
they have,
beautiful
like,
sound.
the Von Weber concertinos and all that. It's always like that cheesy romantic stuff. It's great. It's so much fun, the clarinet. I would love to play it. But yeah, a lot of people say cello.
Yeah.
Which I can understand. It's a very sexy instrument, I think.
Oh, it's great.
Yeah. If you could have any career outside of music, what would you do?
I'd be a sculptor.
A sculptor?
Yeah.
Okay. Do you do sculpting now?
No. I have no
Okay.
idea what I'm talking about. It's like I would have thought I'd like to be a wood turner, but my husband bought me a wood turning course.
What's a wood turner?
Like where you're carving bowls.
That's called a wood turner.
Yeah.
There you are.
And we did this weekend course. It was quite intensive and it was terrifying. It was this big lathe and it's spinning around and like you have to wear goggles and it's really hard. And I realised, no, I do not want to do this. So I would probably be exactly the same about sculpting. But
sculpting?
It couldn't be more different than playing in an orchestra, right?
It really
you're
could,
on your own. It seems really cool. Or jewellery making or something like that. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Again, first person to say sculpting is an answer.
There
I'm
you
very
go.
impressed.
Yeah.
Okay, if you could have a pint with any musician, alive or dead, who would it be?
Oh, that's really difficult.
And also, I have to preface, language isn't an issue, so you'll speak the same language.
Oh God. Well, I've already had a drink with Jimmy many times.
Ah, yeah.
So he would have been the person, but so because.
What did you drink with Jimmy?
Champagne.
Oh, champagne with James Galway. That's the name of the episode straight in.
Yeah. So as maybe let's think non-flute players. I think somebody like.
Doesn't even have to be a classical musician. It could be anyone.
Sting
would be great. That is. Are you a Sting fan?
Yeah, I would be, and I love the fact that he's so eclectic. You know, he doesn't have any one style. I mean, in a way he does, but he works with so many different musicians. I think he's a really interesting guy.
Yeah. Yeah.
And you know, along the same lines, I'd love to, if Bach were alive now or Mozart were alive now, what they'd be writing. Like that's
wouldn't that be fascinating? Yeah, I've always thought about this. Like, what would they do? Even if, like the obvious thing is, what would they do if they were writing for our flute? But then you think, no.
But also they've got all these electronics and they've got all these instruments.
And they've got bands and they've got everything. I'm sure they'd have a field there with it.
It would be incredible. Wouldn't it? Yeah.
I would like to go for a drink with Mozart. I'm not sure.
I think I'd be too intimidated with either. I mean, I
think Mozart would be fun though.
Initially, I thought Bach or Mozart, and they thought, no, I wouldn't be able to open my mouth.
Would you not know?
I'd just be petrified. Yeah.
Bach, I think, would be terrifying. He seems like he'd have like a very big presence about him.
I think they both would.
Mozart's apparently fun.
Really?
Yeah, I read the other day, I think I said this in the podcast, but Mozart, when he was bored in rehearsals, used to act like a cat and like roll about and meow and stuff. I thought that's exactly the kind of guy I want to go for a pint with. Well,
I like cats.
Perfect. You want to get on like a house on fire.
I know.
Okay, so Sting. We'll take Sting as an answer. That's a good answer. Do you know, I actually saw recently you can pay in one of Sting's gigs now, you can pay to be on stage. It's like 2,000 quid, but you get to sit in the corner, which I think it'd be cool if you're a Sting fan, but at the same time the whole audience is watching you just sit in the chair.
Yeah,
which
true.
Would be a bit
Depends
awkward.
on the angle you're sitting at.
Hopefully not one of these either. But I would do that just to go and see Sting right up close.
Yeah, true.
And so last question then. What's your favourite drink? Alcoholic or non-alcoholic?
Very easy to answer.
Is it?
I would say two. Okay. I mean, I like champagne or prosecco or cava.
Beautiful.
And my go-to drink after a concert is Bacardi and Diet Coke.
Bacardi and Diet Coke?
Yeah,
wow.
I know.
That's a classic. It's a very 90s one, isn't it?
I know. I think it was my first drink.
That's usually why. Yeah.
And maybe I go back. Yeah.
You're not a Guinness drinker, no?
Not at all. I don't like Guinness.
Really?
Sorry.
Terrible Irish person.
I don't think I've ever finished a pint of Guinness.
That is awful.
Yeah, it just gets so bitter.
It does. It gets stinking. Yeah. To be fair. And out of champagne, cava, prosecco, do you taste the difference out of the three? Sometimes. I will die on this hill. I can tell when it's champagne. I had my laurels on this.
That's the only one you can tell. Between cava and prosecco, I can't.
Yeah, because they're both cheap shite. But champagne is great.
Yeah, I know.
Yeah,
there's nothing like a champagne buzz.
Yeah. Not whiskey or anything then, though, either?
No. Haven't got a taste for that, really.
Yeah,
I'm almost afraid to go there because I have friends who are...
Oh, we know, yeah.
Yeah, they've just gone down that.
You know what Irish people say about whiskey as well? We all have all these, like... My mum calls it the devil's drink.
I just mean that... I don't mean that they're alcoholics or anything. I hasten to add, but I just mean that they...
Oh, they went the other way. They've got too into, like, buying whiskeys.
They're aficionados now, and they're collecting it, and
yeah. They go to, like, 300 quid a bottle as well sometimes
more.
For a drink.
And more, yeah.
No, couldn't be arse for that.
Apparently it's an investment. Like, you can buy a certain...
That exact phrase I've heard. Oh, no, it's an investment.
Yeah.
You want an investment in what? It's a bottle of drink.
Well, you can sell it and it will buy you a new kitchen in a few years or something.
I remember, when I met Jimmy once, we had a whiskey with him, and he poured us out like it was a Bushmills actually, because we got him as a present. We did a masterclass up north, but Jeannie wouldn't let him. I don't know if I should say this in the podcast, but Jeannie wouldn't let him drink it.
She was probably right. She's looking out for his best interest.
But then when she disappeared, he was like, right, pour that quick.
Oh.
Get it out. And then I had a whiskey with him, and I didn't really like whiskey at the time. Be like, you're with James Galway, just pretend you enjoy it. I just drank it. It's very smooth and
And did it change your perception of whiskey though? It probably did a bit. No,
not at all. I mean, if I'm drinking it with James Galway, I'd be delighted to. But apart from that, not a huge fan.
I'd probably drink anything with James Galway.
Yeah. Well, that's a beautiful note to end on. Is there anything you want to promote or talk about or plug?
Oh, I didn't think about that. You should have told me that.
I probably should.
I do have the Foray Fantasy coming out for Naxos. It's not just, that's all I'm playing on the CD, but it's, it's a double CD of the National Symphony Orchestra of Ireland with Jean-Luc Tango conducting, and that will be coming out I think October, November.
Oh, okay. Anything you want to promote then at all? Any solo stuff you want to promote? Your social media accounts? Anything like that?
Well, my social media accounts are Catriona Flute,
okay.
So Catriona Flute on Instagram.
Yeah, it's a hard name for people to spell outside of Ireland.
It's the Scottish spelling apparently. I don't know why.
Ah, really?
The Irish spelling would be CAIT. Yeah.
Ah. Yeah, it is, of course. Yeah, it's
AIT.
Yeah. Oh, yours isn't AIT?
Mine's CAT. Yeah, I know.
Okay.
I don't mind if people spell it with the I because I'm Irish and it's fine.
See, I actually had, when I was on the bus on the way down here, I listened to the episode again with John Paul just to remind myself of it, and I started freaking out because, okay, I'm from the north of Ireland, so I don't speak Irish because I went to a Protestant school, and then one of my friends is a fluent Irish speaker, and I sent him a message going, do people pronounce Catriona down south? Because John Paul said Catriona, he's like, no, English people.
I didn't correct him.
Oh, thank
I know.
God. The amount of mistakes, the amount of people's names I've mispronounced in this podcast is a disgrace. I do it every time.
Well, I mean, conductors call me all kinds of things, all kinds of variations of my name. They usually just call me Flute because they're not sure how to say it.
But it's an Irish orchestra, so there must be all kinds of names knocking about there.
Oh yeah, and not everyone's Irish, of course.
Yeah.
I mean, there are a lot of.
Okay, well, anyway, there we are.
Catriona
Ryan at Flute.
Catriona Flute on Instagram, Cat Ryan on Facebook.
Voilà, there we are. Well, thank you very much for giving me up your time. This was really cool.
Oh, you're welcome.
It was a real pleasure to get you on. First Irish flute player, I think, to come on.
Woohoo!
Southern Irish flute player.
Yeah, okay.
Actually up north, yeah. So there we are.
Okay.
Thank you very much for this, and yeah, cheerio, guys.
It's been a pleasure. Bye bye.